Yo, what's up everyone? It's Josh again. Today I have a video that's been pretty commonly requested, especially in Discord and some of the comments in my past videos. And it's kind of just going an overview of like what goes into a custom cable and kind of how to design your own. A lot of the pictures that you're gonna see in this is basically a year's worth of making cables. So yeah, this is mostly from my Instagram. Before coming to YouTube, I actually primarily was posting stuff on Instagram. So if you want to check that out, my Instagram handle is Cruise Control Cables, and feel free to follow me there if you'd like. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video here, and I hope it's very helpful for you. But anyways, this is what we're gonna go over. This is gonna be basically all the components that go into the most common custom keyboard cables you see nowadays. So first off, we're gonna start off with the cable itself. We're gonna go into USB connectors, the host connectors, and the device connectors. We're gonna go over different types of sleeving, talk about heat shrink a little, go a little over coils, and detachable connectors. And I think the big portion of this video will be designing your cable and kind of my thought process through picking colors and all that fun stuff. So hang around for that. And also at the end, I'll have some tidbits and some ideas and thoughts to kind of inspire you to create something new and awesome. And just so you all know, the timestamps will be in the description below. So if you're looking for a specific topic, feel free to hit those timestamps. Cool. All right. So first off, we're going to go into the basic functional part of your cable, which is the cable. So basically, USB 2.0 cable, if you look at the spec documentation, there's 4 conductors, 2 power conductors, and 2 signal. And for a full speed cable, it also includes a twisted pair and a shielding. So this is just USB 2.0 documentation, and this is kind of like what your cable requires to meet those specifications. We typically have 2 of the most common types of cables that you see specifically mechanical keyboards. The most common one is this 28 gauge for all 4 conductors, but there is also some cables that use this 24 gauge for the power and the ground, but still using a 28 AWG twisted pair for the data lines. Kind of like there's different disadvantages and advantages to each one. The most common one here is 28 AWG. It's pretty flexible. A lot of the sleeving that's readily available and that people commonly use typically fits this type. But in the sense that you are looking to do fast charging, or maybe if you have like a super full RGB keyboard, you may need or consider having a 24 AWG kind of power lines here to provide you extra power to give to your device. In most cases, this 28 WG is fine. It'll be fine for most cases, but just kind of consider and test out which one's best for you and kind of what your application is. In the specification, the USB 2.0 cable, the maximum length is listed as 5 meters or about 16 feet and 5 inches. Typically, this is the specification recommendation, but in regards to like mechanical keyboards, we have different lighting, we have different components that go into different boards. So typically I recommend no longer than having it than 12 feet. Do keep in mind that for coiled cables, I typically use about a foot per inch of coil. So that's something to think about when you have your custom cable or when you're thinking about building a cable, right? Yeah, so just know the RGB cables, the drop CTR and alt. I recommend 7 feet or less. Honestly, I've had a 6-inch coil and 5 feet cable work fine with a drop CTR I have. But your mileage may vary. It's better to be on the safe end, especially if you are ordering it, and make sure that you have something that's gonna work for your device. Alright, so next off, I'm gonna head into USB connectors. So device connectors first off, right? This is what kind of goes into your keyboard. So for example, the most common one we see nowadays is USB-C. USB micro is one I commonly see with Ducky keyboards. May not anymore, but in the past they kind of, a lot of them were micro. And USB mini. I've seen this be very common through enthusiast keyboards. A lot of PCBs use USB mini. So these are the kind of types of connectors that you commonly see for your devices. In regards to host connectors, this is typically what you plug into your computer. So USB is the most common one, and also some people do USB-C to USB-C, but given the USB-C and kind of like not the USB 2 spec, you will need a special USB-C connector if you want to do that connection there. So just be mindful of that, as not all connectors will serve that purpose and will be functional from that application there. So yeah, make sure you check the specs and make sure that you are mindful of kind of your limitations there. Sleeving. So I mean, there's two common sleeving mechanisms that you see in most mechanical keyboard cables today. The first one is paracord. Typically people use 550 paracord with a 4mm diameter or so. Paracord is typically used for a lot of arts and crafts, also for survival stuff. I haven't been to outdoorsy, but I see a lot of applications for paracord, especially in like the wilderness and the kind of like survival kits. And the 550 is actually like the weight rating it's supposed to hold, and that's why it's called that. But this is typically kind of used as the initial sleeving, and usually this is provided in a very wide variety of colors. So you have a lot of flexibility to find the color that you're looking for, specifically in paracord. Usually on top of the paracord, there's usually a double sleeving, and that's most commonly seen as TechFlex, which is polyethylene terephthalate. I think I'm saying that right. Also known as PET. So that's kind of what it's made out of. I use a 1/8 inch diameter, and this typically expands up to 150%. So even with like that 24 AWG cable, this will typically fit over it. And this does come in different sizes as well, and paracord does come in different sizes as well, but this 550 paracord seems to be the one with the most color options available. Yeah, then there's other options if you are interested in. MDPC, really cool sleeving. I'm actually getting some in, and we'll have some cables made with it soon, but this provides a little more coverage than TechFlex does, and this is typically been used for like inside like computer build sleeving, so like PSU cables and things like that. But really fun stuff, and definitely recommend it if you can find a retailer near you. And other stuff, like I'll commonly search like Amazon, eBay, or whatever, just to find some random things to sleeve cables with. So yeah, find something fun. If you find something cool, like try it out. You never know what might happen. So this is definitely not the definitive list of sleeving, but this is kind of the sleeving you commonly see with custom keyboards nowadays. So yeah, that's kind of the part about sleeving there. Next we have heat shrink. So heat shrink is typically used to cover the connectors, and we typically use it as an accent piece for Aviator GX16 specifically. Yeah, it adds additional color, it cleans things up. You can kind of like hide your mistakes here if you mess up a little. But yeah, this is a great way to kind of add additional flair and kind of clean up your cable here. There are additional options to kind of use for this application, but heat shrink is flexible, it's very inexpensive, and it's widely available in different colors. So that's kind of why you see heat shrink so common with custom keyboard cables today. I typically use a 1/2 inch diameter unshrunk heat shrink with a 3:1 shrink ratio. Typically you can use a 3/8 inch commonly, but what I found with USB-A connectors, you commonly want at least a 1/2 inch so it goes over it easily. And I really haven't had a problem using a 1/2 inch diameter for things like USB-C and USB Mini. But your mileage may vary depending on the manufacturer of your heat shrink, because when I use it on a USB-C and smaller types of connectors, it typically does a fine job shrinking all the way down and keeping that connection secure. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. And also there's a shrink temp of 194 degrees for this material. So typically I use a heat gun to melt this down and shrink it. But you just be wary that you will need a heating element to make sure that you can kind of heat your heat shrink, so it can shrink. Yeah. Okay, it's a bad joke, but let's keep going on. Coils. In theory, it doesn't really have any functional benefit. I kind of think when I think about coils, I think about like those old landline phones, right? You have it hooked to your wall, and if the phone falls off, it's like 1/2 pound, and it's of course it's like not going to spring all the way down. But when you have like mechanical keyboards, like some of these are like 5 pounds or heavier, depending on if it's like a metal construction or not. And do you expect like a coil to like, I don't know, like catch that as if it falls off your desk? I guess if your coil is made really well, that could be cool, but in most cases, this is more of just an aesthetic. You know, you can put a lot of color into your coils, and it's a very nice thing to have on your desk. It looks really good. So I think that's kind of more of my perspective on coils in general. So be mindful of that. If you want something functional, I highly recommend maybe not using a coil, as technically you're just adding length to your cable, which technically degrades some of your signal transfer. But it's up to you. It's all a preference, right? Here's my first coil here. It's kind of sad, but it was something. And not all coils are made equal. So just keep in mind, if you're making your coils yourself or you're buying a cable coil from someone, just be mindful of what kind of the quality of the coil and the quality of coil that you're looking for. Because some people may like retractile coils, some people may like the coils that unravel a little, but just be mindful of what you're looking for and what is kind of offered and what you're trying to make. I typically use a 1/2 inch inner coil diameter, so this means that the kind of the rod I use, or I use a drumstick commonly, is about a 1/2 inch diameter, and I typically use about 1 feet of straight cable per 1 inch of the coil. So just be mindful of how much cable you're going to be needing if you want to have a different sized coil. But yeah, definitely check out my cable coiling video. It's a tutorial if you haven't already. It's actually my most popular video, which is pretty awesome seeing how many people have actually viewed that video. And it's also been really cool seeing people come into the Discord and posting pictures of their coils, and people sending me on Instagram like, hey, I just did my first coil. Like it's such a good feeling just to know that people are learning this process themselves and just being able to do it. You know, I really love seeing that kind of the knowledge I have given is able to give people the inspiration to do their own thing. So that's really cool. Feel free to keep sending me if you do any kind of work like that. Like I love seeing people like doing cable stuff and having fun with it and being able to make something they're proud about. And also, if you want to see the quality of like the coils that I make, if you go to my Instagram, you'll see a coil demo on my highlights. If you click on that, you'll see kind of the properties of the coils I make currently. So yeah, check that out. And I'll also add a card about the tutorial video on this here. Cool. Next, let's go into detachable connectors. I also have a video on detachable connectors, some different types. So check out that video if you're interested as well. The functional use of a detachable connector is that you can have multiple ends, or like if you just want to get rid of one part of it, you totally can. I guess if you have like your keyboard, you want to move it from home to work or something like that, you can have it quick disconnect and just bring this little like part with you, and then from there you can like swap it out quickly. But in, I would say like 95% of this, it's usually an aesthetic, right? It looks cool to have this like metal thing on your desk, on your cable. Like it's like, what is that? Like that looks so cool. And you know, you kind of, I don't know, like if you're going to have a custom cable, it's kind of one of those things like you might as well have it if you're going all the way, right? But yeah, it's up to you if you're interested in that, but definitely I can understand the reasons why people like the aesthetic of these detachable connectors. But yeah, there's a couple positions where these connectors can be. So if you want on the host side, so basically here's your device end, there's the coil, and then after the coil there is the connector, and then from here this long part goes into your computer. So I usually use this terminology of connector on the host side, or if you want it on device side, you'll have your device connector here, so this goes into your keyboard. You'll have the connector, the detachable, and then your coil, then to the long end. I think this connector on device side is the more functional one, because you can swap out these like shorter parts, and it's usually cheaper to produce these. And definitely just keep in mind if you actually want to use it for its functional purpose. Typically a connector on the device side is smarter, but in the case like maybe you have different coils for different keyboards, I can see this as a functional / aesthetic application be implemented as well. But yeah, so there's a bunch of different types of connectors. Check out the video if you haven't already. And there's a lot of connectors that people aren't talking about or aren't using commonly. So yeah, just keep your eye out for different connectors that you see in other applications like automotive or, I don't know, computers. There's really a lot of cool things to work with there, and a lot of things that haven't been tried out yet. So keep an eye out for that. Cool. So I think this is the more, I guess, important part of this video here is designing your cable. There's a couple things that I personally keep in mind of when going into this process. And I've kind of been trying to hone my skills and kind of understand how to do it efficiently and effectively kind of over time after doing this for about a year now. But yeah, know what colors you have available. So you kind of have an idea of what paracord, TechFlex, and heat shrink colors you have. And this will kind of give you like, it's basically like an instrument, right? Like you know what your palette is, you know what tools you have to work with. And from what you have, you can kind of create your solution for kind of the piece you're looking to make, right? Which is to kind of match your setup or your keyboard or key set. And I'll also add some links to the description for different sleeving colors that you can check out from different suppliers. But if you're looking for any of the stuff, cable stuff, DIY supplies, I also have it in my store as well. But yeah, so you want to find a cable that's going to complement or kind of go with your keyboard setup or your desk setup or whatever. A couple things to keep in mind with key sets. Typically, a lot of set designers, when they run their IC or group buy, they kind of share their Pantone and RAL colors, and from there you can kind of match it with different sleevings. Think about accents versus primary colors. Like if you have like a vibrant set, you can really use these vibrant colors to really create a cable that is more visible. But in the case it's more like a neutral set, you can match it with a more like, I guess, basic colored cable. So those are two things to keep in mind of when you're kind of thinking about the cable making process and kind of how you pick colors. Thinking about your desk setup, kind of your aesthetic, something cool to kind of play with here is lighting. So if you have like RGB, maybe you like implement some RGB in your cable, which is super fun. Or say if your like setups like primarily purple or primarily pink, maybe a purple or pink cable respectively might fit in well with your setup. Your personal aesthetic. People have like, some people really like pastels, some people really like metallic and dark colors. This is another way to kind of think about like, what kind of cable do you want, what will go with your setup, and what kind of cable you'll enjoy having. Or you can just go with something basic, like a straight black on black cable, or a white cable, or a gray cable. These are all great options. It'll still work, and some people actually prefer having a more neutral color for their cable, so that's something to keep in mind. And at the end of the day, like, if you're gonna have a custom cable, like, you might as well make it yours. Like, if you are spending the money to do it, or you're spending your time to do it, like, make it something that you can be proud of and something that you can enjoy looking at every day. As for me, myself, I use my cables every day, so it's kind of cool, like being able to know that I made this and it's still working, and it looks good on kind of my desk setup. I'm not going to go through this whole process here. You'll kind of see it. I'm going to go through some examples right after this, but these notes will be in the description below. But you'll see that as we go through the different examples, I'll kind of share some of my insights in how these different thought processes happen with the different cables I made in the past. So yeah, here's some example of a key set. This is Cat Eternal here, designed by Minterly. We actually went back and forth probably like at least a dozen times to kind of figure out our colors that we wanted here. But the legends are teal for the key set, so I think one of the ideas we have is like, hey, let's include teal. We want to include some purple, of course. So kind of what we did here is, this is a teal on teal, so teal TechFlex with teal paracord for the coil side. As we transition it to this dark purple under teal, we use a purple heat shrink here, and then the device connectors are heat shrinked with purple heat shrink. Kind of the idea here is that if you're gonna have a coiled cable without a detachable connector, it's usually smart to just use one TechFlex color. It might be a little hard to like transition to TechFlex, so just be mindful of kind of what colors you're using under that. So yeah, this is kind of like the idea that, you know, you want to have something vibrant, something that pops out, and this is kind of like the idea where that's applied here, something that's really going to catch attention with your key set here. Another option that we provided that's a little more neutral is this this is lavender paracord with shimmer TechFlex. Shimmer is gray/clear, and we ended it off with kind of the gray heat shrink here. This is kind of go with the more, what do you call these, unsaturated purples here. So this is kind of a more neutral option. Like if you want to have your key set, we wanted to have something more neutral to kind of go with your desk setup here. And at the bottom here, we actually have, this is a one-off I made for Minterly. It was kind of a meme, but I thought it came out pretty cool. But this is a 4-tone coil. So I used 4 tones of purple, and this is taking the shimmer TechFlex from here and the gray heat shrink that you found on this cable. And then on the long end, I used the same combination as here. So it's teal on teal for the long end with the purple heat shrink. So yeah, you can have fun, you know, make something that's creative and kind of inspired by something that you made in the past, or just try new things and make something that's exciting for you to make, you know. So I really enjoyed making this one. This one was super fun. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I was like, I gotta make this now. So yeah, this is kind of an example of matching this key set here. I have one more example. It's GMK Copper. This is a really cool, awesome set to work with. Fatboy Carney was the designer of this set. Yeah, this was really cool because there's so many different collaborators and artisans who were involved with the run of this set. So what we ran is a copper cable. So this is literally copper sleeving here. Inside the coil is actually like a seafoam paracord, and then on the long part is a dark brown, I believe. And then I collaborated with a artisan maker. He goes by Archetype Mechanist. He's also the artisan designer of the Cole Crabba, if you've seen that before. But it's a really cool, awesome to collaborate with one of these guys to paint one of our connectors. And it's really cool to kind of have this homage to like the keyboard community and have something that's like really tuned into like the culture and kind of like trying new things and also like collaborating with different people. So this is a really fun kind of project to work on, and this is kind of what we came up with for this set here, using the colors that we had and also the theme, right? As a more general release cable, kind of made this brown coiled cable here. So it uses this like brownish rust, I guess, heat shrink. This is actually brown Techflex all the way throughout. In the coil, we use like some type of cream paracord transition using the brown heat shrink again, and then the long part is dark brown. So this is kind of like going like the lighter part of here and the darker part of here. So that's kind of like how this came to be. But yeah, that's GMK Copper, and that's kind of the thought process behind that cable and that design. Here we have some more random stuff. This is some of my first cables that I made. It was to match Godspeed by Mido. So I was thinking about like, hey, maybe the coil should be something more neutral. So I use this like cream color. So this is white Techflex throughout the whole thing. And then here is cream paracord and light blue paracord for the long end to kind of go with these like modifiers here. And I noticed there's a very pronounced like red and yellow accents on the set. So I use this to put red accent heat shrink on the aviators, as well as the transition from cream to blue. And then on the device ends, I use yellow to kind of mimic the enter and space and escape button here. So this is a fun kind of cable just to kind of match with this, and I think the colors work really well for the most part. Probably would do this differently now, but for the time I thought this was pretty cool. Next one is have like, you know, it doesn't always have to be like these fancy sets, you know, Miami by Taihao. Literally just a hot pink on hot pink coil with a teal on teal long end. And then here I found some like hot pink heat shrink to kind of go with it. But yeah, seeing you have like very like dominant colors, you might as well just use them if you can find the right thing to pair with it. Here's a straight cable for GMK Waves. I got GMK Waves and didn't have cable for it, so I whipped this up really quick. But yeah, I had some like green / dark blue paracord lying around, and then I just finished it off with some green heat shrink here. And here's my other board that I have is SA Lime. I don't know if you can see it too well here, but I basically used the lime green paracord with a shimmer Techflex to kind of go with the lime, which is the accent colors here, and then the shimmer is kind of just to be that gray, the gray accent to the cable and kind of give it that metallic look. So that's some things I considered there. I guess here's more. I guess I have a lot. I can go on about this forever, but one of the kind of challenges I've kind of given myself is I found a bunch of these like Pokemon cable toys. So it's kind of fun matching with this. So like, for example, Charmander, you know, he's predominantly orange, so it's like neon orange on neon orange, and then his tail is red and yellow. So I used red Techflex with the yellow paracord to kind of mimic the tail here. I guess you can go into like Pikachu here. I found that he had the brown accent, so I used that for the long part. He has the red kind of cheeks here, so I used that for the heat shrink. And then yellow is the primary color, so I used a yellow Techflex throughout, and then yellow for the coils here. And on the USB A end, I used black because his little ears are black. so that's something there. And then like I forget, Sylveon, I think. I really wanted to try out mimicking the 3 colors on this Pokemon figurine here. So it goes from that tealish to blue to this nice pinkish color here, Salmon, I guess. And this was a really fun cable to make. And yeah, it's just fun to kind of get inspired by different things. If you really want to get into cable making, find something that inspires you and just go with it and try to find colors that work together and match what you're looking for. Here's some other stuff that I have, like RGB. I found this rainbow paracord that I have available in the store. And I think it went really well with this kind of RGB here. Put on white Tech Flex, and I think it looks pretty good. You can go with basic colors. This is white on white, so white Tech Flex on white paracord, and use white heat shrink here. Or, you know, play with some little toys, or if you have a figure on your desk, or if you're a total weeb and have like an anime figurine, like maybe you can match your cable to that as well. But yeah, here's a couple tips I have for Tech Flex matching. My favorite colors of Tech Flex to use are white, carbon, and shimmer, because they really let the colors come beneath, the colors of the paracord come out. So for example, the white Tech Flex makes things look a little more pastelish and like a little lighter. Carbon Tech Flex is really cool to go with very vibrant colors because you get that black contrast on your very bright paracord. And then shimmer is nice for like a more metallic effect. So remember that 4-tone cable we used earlier? This is the one where I use shimmer on it, and it kind of has that like metallic sheen to it. And if you've seen it in the examples before, sometimes I found Tech Flex colors that really fit well with what I'm trying to match. So I ended up using a Tech Flex color and making that the primary color source to match whatever I'm trying to match. If that makes sense. But yeah, that goes into Tech Flex colors there. And yeah, here's a bonus round. Like, you know, there's so many different things to do with cables. Like, sky's the limit. Like, there's so many applications to look at and so many things to do to make your cable unique. So recently, like, I've been playing with like some braided cables. You can do cables for other devices. This is like my little MIDI pad here. Or, you know, you can do anything. Like, just find something that interests you, like use an old cable or like try to figure it out and like reverse engineer it. But yeah, like maybe your Molex connectors, which are like the superior detachable here, had fun with that and make that a cable. But yeah, just have fun and make sure that you are always inspired and always looking for things to kind of push the envelope and try something new. But yeah, I think that's all I had for today. That was kind of a lot in this video. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you are interested in purchasing any parts to build your own cables, the Cruise Control Cables DIY part store is now open. The link will be in the description. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you'd like. Feel free to leave a comment and like the video, and that would be really appreciated by myself here. If you want to follow me on IG, this is my handle here and all of my other social outlets. Also, feel free to join the Discord. There's been a lot of really cool people coming by and kind of sharing their work and asking questions about cables and whatnot there. So feel free to join the community and be a part of everything there. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you in the next video, and make wise choices.